Hello again and welcome back to the shed. Needabiggershed. Today I was going to do that sort of thing everybody does, a workshop tour, to show you what's going on here, what's going on this side and what's going on behind the camera and even the outside of the shed, so you can see what's going on here. But I got a bit distracted the other day playing with a bit of wood, as you do, and I posted something on Facebook and Instagram and people said, wow, that's really cool, that's really nice. And I thought to myself, well, it's actually something anybody can do, it's very simple. Anyway, I grabbed a piece of firewood, as you do, to put in the fire. But we've got this pile of ugly firewood that doesn't stack properly. Normally you stack firewood like this, it doesn't fit in there. And all the twisty bits and knobbly bits around the branches and things like that. So what I did, I grabbed this piece of ash and just started attacking it a bit. This is what it looks like normally, and it's in the firewood, just a rough old twisted bit of wood, and a couple of hours of sanding and what have you, get to something like this. So we'll quickly go through how we can do that. So this is our raw ash firewood. It's literally firewood. These are the ugly bits, the twisted bits that don't stack with the rest of the firewood, and these get thrown on a pile. They get burnt, but they just don't stack. I just pulled one out yesterday and I thought, wow, that's quite a nice shape. I'm going to have a look at that. And don't worry, this is all homegrown and storm-felled ash. The ash is dying here from a sickness. It's blowing over easily, and we're planting new trees, so don't worry about that. So what have we got? A nice twist on this one. This one's got a nice twist in it, natural twist in the grain. This one's like a ribbon. It's quite a nice shape. Another twist on that one. I think I'll have a look at this one for now. There's a very thin piece. It had a split here where it's fallen or been chopped, so I've put some glue in there, PVA glue, just to try and fix that on there. As you can see, normally anyone working with wood would like a nice bit of straight wood. It's just a bit of cheap pine, and you're not going to get much made out of that. So that's why it ends up firewood. Anyway, I'll get rid of that. So how would I go from that to that? Basically, that's a few hours of attacking it with a sander and these with some sandpaper. What did I do? Right, first of all, easy tool. Most people can find locally, and it's very cheap. Is a power file. I've had this one for 25 years or so. A Black & Decker one. They still make them, I think, Black & Decker, different colour now. And what is it? It's just basically a sanding belt on a finger, and you can get these belts in different grits, abrasions, and you can use that for shaping things, cleaning things off. It's used for all sorts of little jobs, but I've always used it for toy making, for carving shapes. I don't have any carving gouges. I have a carving disc now for an angle grinder, but that's a bit too aggressive for this. So I've got that one, and recently I bought this one. This was, I think, less than €40. That's really how cheap they are, these things. This is from HBM Machines in Holland. I'm not sponsored by them. It's a clone machine, I think. I think it's available under different brands. Basically exactly the same as the Black & Decker. A finger file here that you can fit the paper to, extract the port there, and you can adjust the angle of the finger up or down like that, or straight. So I got this and a bag of different grit files. So what I did, I attacked that piece of wood with this. But I didn't just shape it myself, I just followed the natural contours of the wood and just cleaned it up. This one's pretty dirty. It's going to make a racket. So that attacks the grain, of course, and smooths it out. What I did was hit it across the grain, which any woodworker would know is not ideal, but it removes the material faster that way when you're roughing down. And then when you start to refine the detail, smooth the belt on and start going this way. Now this is, of course, I think 1 centimetre wide, so it's going to dig into the wood, it's going to make marks. You've got to get rid of all that to get a smooth finish. So once I'd finished with this, I got these out, which are my rolls of abrasive paper, sandpaper, from the local shop. Bow Brush Quality Products. I've no idea who that is, but these seem to be pretty good. All different brands around. I've got 80, 100, 120, 150, 180 grit. Of course, anyone in the wood world will know all about that. Anyone who doesn't, that's the abrasive surface. 80 is very coarse, it goes down to a 40. And 180, 240, 320, up to thousands are the finer surfaces for finishing. The problem with paper is, it's paper, it's got edges, so when you're following a curved shape, you can stick the edge into it. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Sheet of paper, little trick, old hacksaw blade. Put the paper, goes out the way, put the paper under the blade and rip it like that, and you've got a lovely straight edge on the back of the paper. If you just rip it manually by hand, you're going to have a shredded edge which is going to catch on everything. Always, when you're ripping paper, rip it on the back side. Same if you're going to get a knife. If you're going to cut it with a craft knife, cut it from the back, and you'll dull the blade less than cutting it on the front. Plus your teeth will stay in because it really hurts if you cut like that. Anyway, a little trick there. So it's an 80 grit paper. And then what I started doing after I did the power file, I just started using a finger in the paper like that, and then start sanding. Literally following the contours of the wood, smoothing out all the power file marks, and following the grain this time. So I'm just going with the grain. What's going to happen, you're going to take out more material within the lines. You've got the dark lines and the whiter lines, which is the softer wood, and the harder wood is the darker line. So you're going to have to go across a little bit to break that up, and then gradually work from an 80 or a 60 down through the grits. So finer, 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 until you smooth it all out and get the shape you want. This side's still ridiculously rough. You can attack it with the paper if you start with a 40, but the power file for the price, it's much quicker and easier. Do wear a mask if you're going to use that. If you're using just your hands, it's a little bit less critical to wear a mask, but the dust does go everywhere. Another trick, if you've got an 80 grit paper, or whatever grit, and you want a softer grit paper, if you just rub these two together, two 80s, now it's going to make a noise, ready? This is now way less than 80, it's probably about half, so maybe a 160 grit, I think a 150 or so. So I've reduced my 80, the abrasion of it, so I can use it as a smoother paper now. Sometimes you have to do that if you haven't got the right grit in stock. You just whack down an 80. Next stage, what I did on the nice one, I've got these sponges which come in packs from the do-it-yourself place, and that's an abrasive sponge. I might have a new one. Yep, there's a new one. So that's just a foam pad with a sanding paper surface on the top. The advantage of that is when you stick it on a curve, it follows the curve. Now I'm going to put a glove on, because what happens is, if you're using this all day, I've got rough old hands anyway from using wood, that grit will just wear into your skin and split your fingertips really nasty. So for safety's sake, I'll just keep your hands nice and soft, whatever you want. Put a rubber glove on. Rubber glove because you can still feel the surface. If you put a thick glove on, you can't feel anything. And then sand away. Put some music on, have a drink, and just enjoy it. And why did I think of this last night? Well, there's some people I know that are struggling a bit with all the pandemic nonsense going on, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And I thought, well, this is actually something anybody could do. You know, I've got a nice bit of gnarly firewood, but you could get just a lump of wood like that and a power file, and you can start shaping it. You could put figures into this and then start shaping it. I did that years ago for toys. I used to make things just with a power file. And what it does, yesterday evening I was just out here a few hours, and I just completely switched off to everything. I'm not too bothered about what's going on, I'm concerned, but it's not bothering me too much. But this was like, whoa, I just totally escaped from everything. So just work it. Don't worry about too much, it's a natural product. Now, of course, it is a natural product, it's never going to be perfect. If I take the one I was working on yesterday, with all this stuff, it looks nice and clean. But there's actually a big old split there. And since last night, when I've let it sit a bit more, it's got another split there. That split goes right through. It's got a mark on there which I thought, it's ruining the shape. But actually it's natural, it's firewood, you know, it's what it is. Another part of being a natural product is we have guests in this piece. It's been sitting in a woodshed for 2-3 years. So we've got a little worm going on in there. Now, woodworkers don't like woodworm in their shed because it can attack anything, basically. If it's wood, yeah, won't attack metal, a tin worm. And certainly less popular and welcome in the house because it will eat everything. Now, the simplest way to get rid of that is with a chemical product. That means soaking this in it, whatever the instructions say. We used to use a really nasty chemical. I don't know, maybe I could put that in the oven. I haven't looked it up yet. Never tried that. Normally we just burn wood with worm in it, simple as that. But I wouldn't risk finishing oiling it and taking it in the house and just leaving it there, because the chances are very strong that that beastie is still in there. And in fact, all these pieces that I've got have been infected somewhere or other. It could be just put in the oven, it could be baked and destroy the worm, or I rub it with a product or inject it into the holes to make sure it's gone, and then oil it. And even then, I would keep close eye on it. If that's standing up or laying down in the house, I probably wouldn't put it on a wooden surface straight away, and I would see if any telltale signs of dust underneath. There's a telltale sign that there's still worm activity going on in there. Anyway, once that's all gone, once you're sure they're gone, I've got dust here. What you can do, there's wood dust, is get a bit of that and a bit of that, PVA glue, which is just standard wood glue, and you put that on a bit of wood, mix your glue in there with a little stick, and you're making a wood pasta paste, and then you can fill up the holes with it and sand them back. And because that wood is that wood, you won't even notice it. In fact, if I rub it in dry, even then, the holes are pretty much gone. Do that and then oil it and it's done. So that was it. Absolutely no magic involved. Just a little bit of time, a bit of creativity, a bit of patience, a bit of sandpaper, a little machine, maybe 2, and a bit of old gnarly firewood. I'm lucky enough to have, but you could do it with any old bit of wood you want. And what I found yesterday was that few hours that I just spent in here just carving that bit of wood, shaping it, and feeling it, running my hands over it, was just a switch off to work in my shed, to normal work. And it was nice, you know. The world just rolls around, and I made a nice little bit of wood. So go for it. If you have any questions, just throw them down in the comment section. Be safe, enjoy what you're doing. I'm Rob Mitchell, and this was Needabiggershed. I'll see you next time.